Approval of the minutes of last month, do the February meeting.
I need 2 minutes to read. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Passed. Thank you, gentlemen. Suzanne, go ahead and do it.
Warrants total $38,015.74. Items mentioned, U.S. Bank Core, which is our credit card, $3,081. Puget Sound, $1,056. Mount Baker Roofing, $17,252. Medical Emergency Systems, $1,713. Northwest Communications, $2,083. Physio Control, $4,238. Volunteer payroll included in the warrants totals $3,619. The payroll totals $15,626.34. Chief Carlton's salary, $4166.67. Chief Shields, $2667. One event for each commissioner and the secretary. The volunteer portion totaled $8,223. The total payout for volunteers, including the warrants, is $11,842. Chief Carlton and I completed the audit for payroll for 2014. I made a $28 error and paid a volunteer mistakenly. It will be deducted from that volunteer's next payout. On March 3rd, Chief Carlton and myself attended training put on by the State Auditor's Office for preparing the year-end reports online. It was very helpful as it was a follow-up to the training I took last year and refreshed my memory. And I wanted Carlton to attend so that he becomes familiar with the requirement of filing the year-end reports after I'm home. And I split the cost of the day between you and the hospital district. Okay, so it was 6 hours and 100 miles, I think. So I did 3 hours for you, 50 miles for you, and the same thing for the hospital district.
It was also a raffle.
Yeah. Everybody got,
Everybody's up. Okay, good.
everybody
That's
filed.
fine.
Okay,
Who paid for the meal, by the way? Yeah, you got me.
Chief Carlton did.
You
I
did?
did.
Very
I
well.
took her out for a nice
You did,
sushi
huh?
lunch.
sushi lunch. Yeah.
Sushi, healthy.
How could I have guessed that?
That doesn't need to go in the minutes, it's on video.
Can we review the overage on Mount Baker Roofing, please?
Well, that was in the contingent of things that were found underneath the roof. And there was dry rot and stuff that they had to replace on this side. So that was some of the extra boards and things. So the initial bid was around $15,000. So change. So some incidentals were in there, but we still maintained below our $20,000, which was good.
Did they say how many sheets of plywood got replaced?
No. I really didn't get a chance to talk to them before they left, and I haven't been receiving any calls back from the Mount Baker person that I called to find out about the project. But they left some shingles here. and we picked those up so we can use them on a crop or something like that over here. But otherwise, they replaced, if everybody remembers, they replaced the roof on top of the sleeping quarters and the upstairs, and then the valley, and some of the roof over the ambulance bay area.
Good, thank you.
That's fine.
MES, I'll explain the other ones. MES, sort of SCBA's.
Yep. SCBS quarterly.
Northwest Communications is the group that we're utilizing. As I stated in previous meetings, he's under contract with the county along with Dave Wireless, but he works on all the emergency services communications, so he's doing work for us. Up here, that cost there was to do a propagation study from the tower, which I'll go over on the big screen. Physio control, $4,238. That is to maintain our AEDs. So that's a yearly cost to have physio control. Either we send our equipment all down to Seattle and they send up replacements at the same time. So we're not out without AEDs. But this time they came up, he sat here for an entire day and updated all of our machines and made sure they're in the best operational circumstance they can be. So that's a yearly cost. Over 3 years, it's going to cost us about almost $13,000. But that's something we need to do for the maintenance of the machines because they're number one for the public when we have cardiac arrest. And if they don't function correctly, then we have nowhere to go.
Is he the only outfit that does that? I find it pretty steep.
Well, Physio Control is the maker of our machines, so I'm not going to go to a third party that doesn't understand the inner workings and causes problems more than anything else.
How many AEDs do we have?
So we have a Life Pack 12, we have a Life Pack 15. We have AEDs on 85802, 858, Battalion 58, and also in the Tahoe. So we have 5 AEDs that we have, but 7.
Because there are 2 in the
Well, the
community.
community center, that's not considered part of our fleet. So the community center was from a grant a number of years ago. We do help them maintain those AEDs, so we'll go around, we'll help replace the pads when they're expired. The same thing with the community clinic here has one of those AEDs from that grant years ago. We'll help them maintain them, but it's not part of this cost.
Are they all the same AEDs?
We have some 500s that are
By the
generation.
same, but made by the same company?
That is correct, except for the ones that are at the parks office, the community center, and the community clinic, which are Zoll. So all of ours, because it's the standard in the county, are Life Pack Physio Control.
So is that a lower standard over there?
No, I'm not saying Zoll is a lower standard. That's what the North Region got in their grant process, which we were part of, I think, years ago. If I understand the grant that was given to get these AEDs up here. But Zoll was the provider and the winner of that grant process.
Okay.
Can we bring that up and discuss it later in the meeting?
Yeah.
Because it all should be included at the same time. Should be included at the same time.
Well, Physio Control came from Zoll.
Okay, that's fine.
Zoll, so that would, I'd have to bring somebody else up or ship those off to a third party.
They're useless if they're dead.
Well, we check them on a monthly basis to make sure the batteries are all good, and as long as it has an okay or a check mark, it does an internal test every day, then all the internal workings are fine.
I recall that being a complaint way back, some years back.
Yeah, in 2012, we stepped up, and the one at the parks office wasn't operating when I came on as the fire chief here, and Ben hadn't had the time to get it to us. But so I went in there, we actually sent it off to Zoll, and Zoll repaired it at no cost, if I remember correctly, and sent it back to us. Is that correct?
They did all 3 of them.
Yeah, they did all 3 of the AEDs. So,
Yeah, the three Zolls that are out there aren't the responsibility of the fire district.
Well, I think we should make them, I'm sorry, it's not part of what we're doing right now.
no, it's okay.
It's doing financials, but it should be part of the fire district.
Yeah,
It's part of life safety and it's here on Point Roberts. Damn it, we should do it.
Well, I agree to that to a point, but that would have to be extended if someone got a personal AED here, and then technically we would be in charge of that AED. So what you're saying is we should be in charge of any AED here on the point, but it can really blow out of proportion, especially because you can go and buy an AED at Costco
Yeah,
if you want.
that would be in my personal house, but when it's in the community center, and when it's down at the park, those are public places,
Yeah.
and I think that's our job, and that would be,
Well, I'm not gonna go that far right now. It could be a worthy discussion.
I can tell you that
But to say, okay, you got one for your private house, and then for a semi-private outfit like a community center, and then you have the park house, and then we have the border. Where does our responsibility start and where does it stop? That's something we have to keep in mind here.
it is a liability risk that if for some reason we are not able to get there and they don't tell us that something has happened to the AED, and then they go to use it, that we could have a liability on that. Well, you're supposed to make sure our AEDs work, so there could be a battle there. I can tell you that we stepped up beyond in 2012, even going around and making sure those AEDs are operational, making sure that they say okay or they have a green check mark, meaning that all the internal workings, and making sure the pads are in date. And we provide that here, but the district, I don't think, was part of that grant process back in the day. And I'd have to reread the grant, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
it just,
But I agree.
if they're just sitting there dead on the wall, they shouldn't be there.
Well,
I can tell you that we do have one that is ours down at the marina. They came here, all of their personnel got CPR trained and AED qualified, so we put one of our AEDs at the marina. I talked to the manager at the marketplace. They are interested in it as well because these are high volume places. And if somebody can get down a dock or can get down an aisle at the marketplace before we arrive and shock somebody, then I'm good to go. We have those AEDs, I'm just waiting for their people to be trained, and then those are our responsibility, so they're part of their
We
test.
have one in the sheriff's car that's on duty.
We used to, so,
We do now. Jason has it in his car.
okay, we need to confirm that he's CPR trained. So I had talked to him about that, I didn't know that he had the AED at this time, but we need to make sure he's CPR and AED qualified.
Well, it's just that I think, I'm not saying it's our responsibility to have this particular group, but we're going to have to determine whether they're in a public place, whether they're charged or not. I think that belongs to the fire department.
Yeah, public access defibrillation, I think, is a crucial part of any community, meaning that we have AEDs out there for the public to access. That is normally led by the emergency services, whether the ambulance company within the city or the fire service that's providing oversight of the community. And I'm happy to look into that further. If I was going to go that route, then I would be replacing the Zolls. So I would replace the 3 Zolls with LifePack 1000s. They roughly cost around $2,000 a piece. And the LifePack 1000s, the reason why I replace them with 1000s is because they're compatible with all of our machines then. So all of the combo pads that we carry or the pads that we put on somebody's chest, I would not have an issue. I would have to take off pads and then put ours back on, those types of things, because the connections are not the same.
let's leave that up to, why don't you little checking into that and find out where our liabilities start and stop? Because I think that's very important. You could be opening up a complete mess over here. We could be handing out AEDs, on a continuous basis. We want to keep track of everybody that's trained on them. If the marina going to notify you that somebody quits but they haven't been trained on them.
Well, they're supposed to always have.
I understand that, but
I agree.
let's leave that for now.
Yeah.
I can see this turning into a long discussion and we don't need that.
Well, I might be able to get a public access defibrillation guideline or policy or an agreement from Brian, our legal counsel, to see if he has something like that in place. So
Maybe you want to do
we'll
that. In the meantime, we have a couple of motions to pass here.
Yeah, you okay with the I make a motion, 2 motions actually, to approve the warrants for $38,015.74. And the second motion would be to approve payroll for $15,626.34. 2 motions per second.
I'd like to second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? No? Motion passed. Thank you, Suzanne.
Yep.
Okay, next. Anything on the budget? No? Correspondence, Chief?
No
No
correspondence.
correspondence. Chief's report, go ahead.
So, Chief's report for March 15th for February 2015. Some points of information. Station security, I'm still working on that. The initial bids that we got for cameras and for door fobs, those types of things was around 16 grand. And we had two companies that were, their ability to come up here, and one was ADT and the other was Security Solutions out of Bellingham. Both came out to be basically the same cost. So I'm trying to see if there's other avenues we can take to improve the security and knowing who's inside the station at any given time. The radio paging. So I'll put this up on the screen so you guys can see it.
Got a whole shuttle six or.
Yeah, so that is to share those with the team. You can hit the lights. Okay, so this is Point Roberts up here, just to let you know where we're at. So Point Roberts is with the circle. And Galbraith Mountain is over here. This is the current site that we're dispatched off of. And this is the current site that our radios have to pick up. As far as I understand, have to pick up. So when we key up, it has to travel across and get to Galbraith. Okay, so this is Galbraith Mountain, one of the emergency services radio sites. The reason why this one has been chosen, Sumas is way over here, so the other radio site is in this area up here. And both of these, Sumas I think is like 37, this is around the same mileage away from the point, about 37 miles. So the difficulty of a 5-watt radio being able to reach this site consistently from everywhere is a problem for us. So what this does, this is part of the propagation study, and the propagation study was the cost that you saw on the financials. And what that provides is this is a $1 million+ computer system. Curtis Moon from Northwest Communications sends in all the elevations, the latitudes, and everything from Point Roberts and the site, which would be Whitby's site on Point Roberts. So they ping off of Galbraith first to see the problems that we have, and then they'll ping off Whitby and come back this way. And it'll show coverage from Galbraith that we're missing, and then coverage from Whitby, and we'll go through those as it comes up. So this one right here is Galbraith, so it's a portable transmitting to Galbraith site. So this is one of our portable radios. It's our handheld radio. It's basically 5 to 10 watts, 7.5 watts, somewhere in there. And when we key up, so this is a portable keying up on Point Roberts. So anything red is a dead area. So it's meaning that our transmission most likely has a highest probability of not being heard or getting out. All the yellows are the next worst. Anything green is good on these. So you can see pretty much 3/4 of the point when we key up on our portable to try to talk back to prospect or alert prospect that we need more resources on scene, we need law enforcement, anything like that. All of the red areas are basically dead spots for us. We will not reach Galbraith, and if we do, they won't be able to understand us. So this is the first one in the set. So the next one So this one is Galbraith to our pagers. So the pagers that we wear on our belts. So Galbraith being able to broadcast from this site, cross all the topography, and get to Point Roberts. So again, you can see Point Roberts, a lot of it's covered in red and yellow. So anytime we have volunteers in those areas and a page goes out for a 911 call or assistance, those volunteers have high probability of not being activated on their pagers.
Is there any way you could blow that up a little bit? Part of it is my eyes.
So, Chief, that doesn't work.
Well,
That's good.
So this one, probably not 3/4, but just about half of Point Roberts is red and yellow.
So at least half. Yeah, and I did, the other day, Northwest Communications came up on Monday or Tuesday, John?
Tuesday.
Came up on Tuesday this week. They climbed to the top of Whidbey Tower. I went to 26 sites around Point Roberts, and they pretty much all line up with the maps that you're seeing, where we have dead spots or inability to transmit. Okay, so the next one is vehicle transmission to Galbraith sites. So this is out of our vehicles, so like the Tahoe, for instance. So our vehicles are a lot higher powered than our portables, and usually we don't have problems when we're dealing with our vehicles. So you can see that if I'm in the Tahoe and I key up my vehicle, my mobile radio there, what are the wattage about? Do you know?
Those ones I think are 35.
So you're getting a little bit more wattage, but you can still see that if I'm on the west side of Point Roberts, over here, I still have dead spots, even off my vehicle's ability to transmit at a higher wattage.
Do you know if that's bottom of the bluff or bottom
No,
of
that's
the
west side. When I was doing my testing, I wasn't even receiving pages or radio communication at the entrance of the golf course. And I was on the main road. The next one, is portable transmitting to Point Roberts site. So this is our handheld radio transmitting to the Whidbey site.
But Chief, what we've seen so far is the old system.
Yeah, the old system is what we're going over, all the reds, yellows. I started with what we currently have. So all of the reds, yellows is how we're currently dealing with our communications.
That's important. I'm not so sure if you guys all understood that. What we've seen so far is old, or still
Now, what
existing.
is, when you're saying what you're measuring from the top of Whidbey, is that something Northwest Communications is doing? You don't have equipment up yet?
So when this propagation, that's correct, when they climbed actually to the top.
And use some
And
sort
sat
of
there and
fan
used a
there?
radio.
Oh, okay, so it's you on a radio talking to them on a radio?
They have radios that can page us out off a little radio.
Okay,
Okay, but you're looking at a small little antenna and everything else.
but I can call it a test system.
It was a test, yeah. So this propagation study was separate from that though, just to let you know. This was not
Okay.
that study.
This is to simulate the new system.
That's to show the system that we currently have
Right,
and to show what we're going to have with the new system.
Yeah.
so that, the next batch we're looking at is from the top of Whidbey.
Correct. So the next batch coming up will show you how if the signal's coming off the top of Whidbey Tower, and it'll be roughly between 20 and 30 watts, somewhere in there. Here we're going to have, and I'll show you what we're going to have the ability to do. So portable transmitting to Point Roberts is my next one. Okay, so if we have equipment on top of Whidbey and I key up my handheld radio, we have no coverage loss. So we're basically,
In other words, you have perfect coverage.
we have perfect
With a
coverage.
little bit of a yellow.
Well, the yellow's the pin.
That's
So-
Whidbey.
That's the pin, right?
That's Whidbey.
Yeah, the pin is the Whidbey.
Yeah, So the
Yeah.
yellow doesn't apply to the propagation
No.
study, it's just to keep.
Yeah, it's just marking the top of Whitby Tower, okay? But you can see all of Point Roberts is green on that. And this is if we have equipment on Whitby Telecom's tower. Okay, this is coming off our handheld radio, or portable. So the next one will be the Point Roberts site. I can't, where's my trigger? It's going to be the Point Roberts site, sending a signal out to our emergency pagers
I would be.
via Whitby. Okay, so this is coming off the Whitby Tower, sending prospect received a 911 call. They hit the button to page us out. It reaches this tower, pages out from this tower to our responders. And now you can see that if we use Whitby Tower, it's going to be 99.9% probability our responders are going to get tripped with their pagers that are on their belt and notified. The next one is going to be my radio transmitting to the Point Roberts radio site. Obviously, there shouldn't be any problems because our mobile radios are obviously higher power. And you can see that if I key up my radio on my rig that's mobile, I don't have any issues there either transmitting to the Whitby Tower, and then that will go into other areas transmitting back to Prospect.
Quick question?
Yeah.
And if this is just too technical, tell me to call you later. Once you receive the signal at the Whitby Tower and it's going back to Prospect, is that a transmitted, is that a microwave signal? Or is that a through fiber optic signal?
The only fiber optics that we're going to have is from Washington State Patrol Airport site, Bellingham Airport, down to Prospect.
Okay.
That's going to be the only fiber optic in the system as far as I understand. So we're going to microwave, our goal will be to microwave over to set headquarters, which is DHS CBP in Blaine, to their
What did you call
headquarters
it the
building.
first time? Is to microwave over to what headquarters?
It's a headquarters, so DHS headquarters you can just call it. They call it SEC.
Okay.
So to microwave from Whitby Tower to SEC headquarters in Blaine, that gets microwaved up to Sumas, and then from Sumas it gets microwaved down to Washington State Patrol, where it goes by fiber optic into Prospect Dispatch, which is Fire EMS. This all happens in milliseconds when we key up the radio. But if we are able to get on the Whitby Tower, you can see that your emergency responders at that point are going to have everything they need to be paged out and also communicate on first talk. You can turn the lights back on, Tom. I'm happy to leave these up on the table for the public to view after the meeting so they can see the changes.
Give me the time.
34:22. Okay.
What's the status of your negotiations with DHS and all those bits?
So, yeah,
Where are the bits?
That's what I'll get to now. So, the negotiation status with DHS, we've talked to their lead communications technician. He has transferred our emails to his liaison at Border Patrol. In the past, he stated to me the other day, and I said, well, I can't have this go 6 months until we get an agreement. I need to keep this on everybody's radar so we can get this accomplished in the short term. And he goes, he had no idea how long it was going to take. The last agreement, or MOU, which is what we'll have probably in place, which is a memorandum of understanding. The last MOU was with law enforcement agencies here in the county, but it involved sharing frequencies. So being on the same frequency, which we're not asking for that, we're just asking to have a dish
Just have them
on
boop it
their
up.
pole and beam it off for us. That negotiations took over a year. And as far as I understand, it looks like the Attorney General, this federal Attorney General or the Attorney General here, will have to approve the MOU if we get a go-ahead from DHS. They seem very interested in helping us with our emergency services. It's just going to try to keep it on radar and decrease that radar on a daily, weekly basis. Now, if for some reason it does not work out to where DHS will allow us to come into their location, then that's going to take redesign of the dish that we're going to have up on Whidbey. It's going to have to be a much larger dish because we're going to have to microwave all the way to Sumas at that point.
But that would be possible because you're higher up.
It would be, but it's going to extend our costs by tens of thousands. Yeah, so our hope is that we are able to get in DHS. I sent off an email to Congresswoman Delbany the other day as well, and hopefully we can have her support. And I'll be in contact with Lauren, who is one of her staffers that deals with DHS CBP. I'll also contact our senators here in the state and try to do that at the federal level too. But I have sent an email to Congresswoman Delbany. Cost-wise, where we're currently at, right now with Northwest Communications, if the system goes as is, we're looking at a $50,000 cost, and that's plus or minus $5,000. The cost that was not expected by myself or Northwest Communications was with Prospects, which is overseen by Bellingham Fire. And talking to Prospect, Bill Haynes is their communication expert. So we called him, and he stated that they had no space inside their upstairs room to add our equipment to the racks. So what that means is we have to purchase our own Fire 1, Fire 2 radios. Let me correct that. For Prospect, we have to purchase Zetron equipment, some voter cards, and this stuff is kind of up here above my head when it comes to discussing all the transmission. We have to buy a 19-inch rack, which is about 6.5 feet tall, 19 inches wide, 19 inches deep, pretty much. It's like a 19-inch square rack that this would go into down at Prospect. So they're charging us for this, even though we pay emergency service radio communication fees every year. Right now, they're over $2,000. I think we paid to FARS. They're going to charge us to build this into Prospect's system down there, which none of us knew at the time. That cost is, right now, Northwest Communications is able to buy the equipment at a discounted price for us. So their total cost was around $12,000. So now we're looking at $62,000 for the system. That was we can't do it without Prospect. I'll just tell you that. It doesn't matter what we put up here and the other sites, we can't do it without Prospect.
Chief, excuse me. In short, Chief, what extra do you need? Yeah, we have $50,000.
Well, I had a ceiling at the last meeting for approval
What do
for
you need to make
$50,000.
this work as it is now?
As it is now, I need at least $65,000. I mean, I'm at 62, that gives us a play of $3,000. And these are invoices I already have from Northwest Communication and Prospect stating how much it's going to cost. So these aren't numbers I'm coming up with. These are numbers that are on paper.
Is it not like a cart before the horse and the horse before the cart situation? If Department of Homeland Security won't do what they're doing, then, or what we've asked them to do, is it all for naught?
No, because then it'll be another $10,000 to $30,000 on top of what I'm asking today. So we're reaching a level of $90,000, $100,000. because at that point, we would have to microwave to sumac. And that's our first option. Now, there may be other options that we become creative about, but I don't want to become creative at the detriment of losing coverage here on the point, because the whole idea is that the point becomes green for us, as I showed you on the maps. I can't spend 100 grand and still have red and still have yellow up there. That is not being responsible to the responders that rely on their communications, nor is that being responsible to the taxpayer. So the problem with going to sumac is most likely we'd have to have a bigger dish up on sumac, so we'd have to buy a dish for sumac. Right now, we don't have to buy a dish. It's going to a dish that's going to be on there. We'd have to buy a big dish there. We'd have to put up a bigger dish here, which changes things with Whidbey contract, which none of this has been signed yet, okay? So with the Whidbey contract, it probably costs a monthly charge now to have that size of dish on sumac because of the size and the weight to the tower and the electricity. So we'd probably be paying, someone, I don't know who owns that site, but someone would probably ask for a bill at that point.
So what's the first domino that has to fall?
First domino is the agreement with DHS, which could take months.
So you can't do anything until that happens?
Until I know they say yes or no.
Yeah, okay.
Jen, I understand your problem, and I've been dealing with that too, and I'm sure everybody else here as well. For us to continue, for us to successfully continue, or maybe change routes in between, we're going to spend money.
Oh, absolutely.
We have, but this time, right now, we have no contract. Anybody?
We haven't purchased any equipment
Yeah,
or anything like that. It's all on paper. So the thing that we have spent money on was the propagation study,
Yeah.
was this. So I have a basis to show the public and to show my commissioners what we will have if we go forth with the radio upgrade.
The cart is a little bit for the horse.
mm-hmm.
We just have to make sure it gets done.
Well, the reason why we have all the equipment listed out and everything that we have is that when DHS says go, that
There go those dominoes.
we can go the next day
Yeah.
and start putting stuff up here, start putting up stuff at other locations. That within a week, we can be well on our way to being completed with the project. But it's the whole, if I wait on DHS and don't have Northwest Communications working on a supply list, what they need, or working on Prospect, or Washington, because I still have to get an agreement with Washington State Patrol, as well.
Well, Susan Del Bene has proven herself to be someone who gets things accomplished
Yeah.
with DHS.
Which may have a positive, negative thing right
Yeah,
now.
well, no, but
yeah.
that's a good thing. She may be capable of hurrying the process out.
Yeah, and that's why I went to her. She's written letters for us and support for AFG grants in the past
Yeah.
as well. I've never talked to her directly, which I hope that one of her staffers, if I have to explain this situation to one of her staffers, that it's able to be relayed properly to her so she can understand the importance of the failures that we currently have. Now you can see where our failure rate is in areas of the point, which are massive, to where our responders live. And if we're in a nice, fine area, we have a good possibility of being tripped on our pagers or being able to get out on the first key. But if we're in any of those red or yellow areas, it's very unlikely that we're going to be successful on our first key up, or if our pagers are going to be tripped when that call comes in.
Okay,
So that's, right now, that's where I'm at on the radio.
good, appreciate it. Chief, anything quickly you want to add to that, or?
No, I'd like to have the public definitely look at the propagation maps.
Can I have electronics with those?
Over there, electronic forms? Yeah. And so you can have an understanding and you can support this process because it is not a small amount of money. We do have it in our capital reserves, but if we don't have communications, we don't have emergency response.
Okay, let me then ask my two fellow commissioners, you two feel that we have to change that or add to that motion we passed last month, that motion of 50,000?
I'd like to go back to the station security.
That's not on the table right now. got the tail end of the chief's report regarding the tower. If you want to bring up the station security, then we'll keep it in his report, we'll do it at the end. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, we can do it at the end. I want to do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
we're
understand.
being asked for a great deal of money.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's why I want to ask you now, both of you, do you want to add or change that motion from last month, $50,000? Is it, the way we see it now, is not going to cut it?
Well, I think it's prudent at this time to probably increase it by $20,000. And
What do you judge?
It would be a motion. I don't think we have a whole lot of choice.
The cars on the road, we just have to maintain the doors open so we can get in and out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted to talk about the station security because money comes, we're
Right.
now spending,
I
30% more.
I totally understand, yeah, but let's, in order for us to complete this particular part of the report, I personally feel that we need to do something about the $50,000. Either don't do anything, and then, we don't know what the limits are anymore. If he comes out next week with another estimate of $61,500, technically what the author has to do it, he spend $50,000, but not the $11,500.
and you want to commit ourselves to $11,500 that may.
No, I wouldn't even stand going up to 70,000, yeah. And I would also, if you want to talk about station security, I'll talk about that, if you want to bring that up briefly.
All right, well, as you say, we don't have any chance, we don't have any choice in the hand that's being dealt.
I think it's a prioritization of, if we want to weigh those two things, station security versus the radio tower, it's obvious we have to go with the radio tower.
At this time, I agree with you there. Or at least I tend to agree with you there, yeah. Priority-wise, yes. Again, for the third time, do you guys want to do anything about that motion? Do you want to leave it as is, or you want to change it?
I was putting a motion forth to increase the amount from 50,000 to 70,000. Okay? And that's my motion, looking for a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Right? That motion is passed. Linda, the same motion we had last month. Just change the figure to 70,000. You may want to make a note in that motion that this is in regards to the motion of February, where that amount was supposed to, it has been changed to 70,000. Yeah, that way it's clear. Now, Jeff, station security. Chief, you want to add? You have any answer to that right now, except priorities the way they stand?
No, station security is off my radar. It's not beeping right now. It's just something I need to mention because we have discussed it in the past. Most likely when, if I'm able to revisit the station security, obviously it'll be at one of these meetings. I'll have a finalized plan in place to bring to you at that point with the fobs and with any cameras and the cost of doing that. But this is my top priority because without communications, we don't have service. And if we have somebody get paged and other responders are not receiving that page, we don't have the service that the public deserves. So it's a priority. No one else is reaching out to really help us other than the agreements that we are looking to put into place. I think DHS is very open to it as far as I understand. It's just getting them to the table and hammering out the MOU with everybody's schedules and with what they're doing at the federal level. Washington State Patrol, I think, will be the same way. I think they'll be supportive to allow us to come in. There may be an explicit, charge that Washington State Patrol wants to give us, but right now, no one's paying for the connections in between, as far as I understand. what I've been told. FARS doesn't pay connection, Washington State Patrol doesn't pay connection. The other thing that I would like to expand on is the money that we have to spend to put this equipment into Prospect, which is down in Bellingham, and it's the Fire EMS Emergency Services Dispatch Center. The money we have to put into Prospect, they're planning on upgrading equipment in the next 3 to 5 years. They're going to be putting in hopefully a new CAD system, if at all possible, but upgrading the side of the system that we're having to add to. Any upgrades that they do once our equipment is in place is on them. They're not going to come back to us and say, well, you need to buy another rack, you need to buy this, you need to buy this. Anything that's in place at the time that they go out for bid is going to be replaced in that. Now, getting the radios that are in my rack down at Prospect because I have to get an MOU signed with Prospect as well. They're not going to charge us a monthly fee, which I was really happy to hear. But those radios we could surplus and possibly sell and get money. Those should not be just left in for them to surplus. So I'll have that in our agreement. Anything that won't be reused.
The other thing, just very briefly to touch on, we have an attorney.
Yeah.
Is there a good chance that attorney can talk to their attorney and see if we can get up with a temporary MOU in the process? It's an obvious thing we're going forward. They don't have the mechanism in place to approve things rapidly, which means they're part of government.
Right.
So what we have to do is perhaps we can get something, attorneys have lunch with each other and things like this work out.
Yeah.
That's why we have an attorney. I think maybe we should,
Yeah, Rob Wilson is the communication chief there, and he has a chief's position within Bellingham Fire, and he oversees the communications. I'll call Rob Wilson, find out who the city attorney would be that would be approving the MOU, and see if I can get him and Brian in contact with them, and they can start working on it. The equipment, we know what equipment's going to have to go in there, so that can be easily put together and hopefully approved prior to us even getting the process. The more I can get or have the dominoes in place prior to DHS giving us permission, the more rapid it's going to go after DHS says yes or no.
do you have that from us tonight, what you need?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Jeff, would it be okay if we just say that we'll talk about the station security, let's just table it for a while?
I agree.
Is that okay with you? How about you, do you understand?
I think I do. I agree with,
Until when the chief says, okay, when the dispatch is over, we'll do that.
it may be that we're getting ourselves so deep in that we may end up at Radio Shack buying a system. I don't know. But, something will come out of it, but not right now. So it's off your radar. It's fine with me to table it if it's fine with Jeff and Bill.
We can make a note, just make a notation of that the issue of station security has to be tabled.
Did anything ever happen with the investigation?
The investigation was done by the deputy that was up here, and they found no notable suspects within the organization that they could target to say that they were the most likely the subject that took the money. So they don't know, they're still, it's unsolved, obviously, but it's closed unless they get additional information. They came in through the outside doors, through the door that was left ajar, came in, or whether or not it was from a member within the organization. So no one's been charged, no one has been sought as a determination investigation.
Chief, I can continue with your chief's report.
So the year-end internal financial audit, she mentioned it in her financial report, Suzanne did, which was great. $28. We went over it every month. It shows that our monthly payouts, not paying anybody early or anything like that, our monthly payouts, having myself and Chief Shields go over the payroll, both of our initials go on it to make sure it's correct before we give it to Suzanne. And Suzanne's side is going extremely well too, except for $28. But it's $13.
That little bit of dementia that I have.
Yeah, and guess
About
who?
$28 worth of dementia.
About
Yeah,
Okay.
and the funny thing is guess who it was to?
Oh, you just got.
His wife, Deb Shields. So, and she's been gone at PA school and then she just came back on a hunt and, ran some calls.
John always says she needs money.
So, yeah, we got paid, and then she happens, we just ticked it twice for her. So, anyway, we'll get that back out. The easiest way, it's not that, it's very difficult for them just to write a check to the district because we have to think about taxes and everything else that was taken out of it and add that to it. So, we don't want her double taxed. So when she comes back, she pulls a couple shifts, we'll just deduct that from that month's payroll, and that's easy, so she doesn't pay double tax on it. The other thing is year-end financials. I'm compiling a report at this time for year-end financials to take to the Taxpayers Association to have my end of year meeting and explain how our budget went. It looks like that we were able to put away $121,000 into capital reserve from 2014.
No, you're saying that all wrong.
I'm saying that all wrong.
Yeah, you are. What we had was a net profit of $121,000.
Okay.
Okay, so now, we ended up putting about almost 60,000 throughout the year into capital fund
Okay.
of that net profit.
Right.
So there's another 60 that needs to be put in there. But we can't do that right now because we don't have enough money right now. We have to make our money last till the end of April when we start getting
Right.
taxes.
But we'll have another 60, so 120,000
Yeah,
when everything comes. We'll
All right, my check tonight. Okay.
we'll be moving into our capital reserves, but what I need to remind the public and the commissioners of is that if we're unsuccessful in getting a grant for our SCBA's, we have a $140,000 bill coming due next year to replace our SCBA's, which are the air packs that our firefighters use to go inside of burning buildings and into hazardous atmospheres, just not structure fires, but hazardous atmospheres in any situation. And those are coming due. Our bottles are out of date. They're over 10 years old. They're considered to be, at this point, obsolete SCBA's. And I hope that with the DHS being funded, because our AFG grants, believe it or not, was held up by the federal funding back in Washington that they could agree upon for the federal budget. So I'm hoping that gets, if it hasn't gotten solved, does anybody know? The DHS, the Department of Homeland Security funding, has that been approved by federal?
It's okay until Friday, I think.
So they extended it in a week. They did it for a week. But that's holding up the nation's AFG grants. Anything that's tied to that, emergency services, is held up in the politics in Washington, D.C. right now. So they could pull out tens of millions of dollars out of that AFG, depending on how they figure out the budget, and they can reduce it. And if they reduce it, we might be ones that are kicked out of it if we've been approved. All of our grants are done. They've been approved. They're just waiting for the funding so they can tell who's got the grants. And they won't tell us until that time comes. So I'm hoping that they fund it fully as the AFG side sought to give the grants out to organizations. But if they decrease it at all, then people that were awarded grants prior to this political fight in Washington, some of them will be nixed from the grants process. And I'm hoping we won't be one of those.
What's the time frame?
It's federal government. I have no idea. Our time frame to replace our packs is 2016. Yeah, it's 2016. So we have about $140,000 out on packs, and the two bids that we got, or estimates that we got, we didn't get bids. The estimates we got were from Scott, which are current packs that we have now. The reason why those are highly likely to be replaced with the same manufacturer would be that our primary mutual aid is Delta Fire Rescue, and they also have Scott packs, and then we don't have any interoperability issues with that in an emergency situation. The other estimate that we got was from MSA, which are G1s, and the MSA is another manufacturer of SCBA's. But they're the ones that I'm very familiar with, and that are MSAs are highly used in Whatcom County. but Scots are used across the border.
Does everybody know what SCBA's are?
Scubas.
Self-contained breathing
Self-contained
apparatus.
breathing apparatus.
Yeah, self-contained breathing apparatus. And at a meeting coming up towards the end of the year, something I'll show you what the SCBA is. We'll bring one in and show the public, get it on film so people can understand what we're talking about. But on average, they're $6,000 to $7,000 a piece per person, per firefighter.
Chief, I think it's
It's a very
wise.
personalized piece of equipment, and for a specific firefighter, it's not something they can really trade off. They don't understand.
I mean, this is something you don't go without. I mean, it's as important as communications because it allows us to breathe in a fire. And if we don't have it, then we're not coming in. Even if you're yelling, we're not coming in because we don't have the equipment to do so.
Chief, why don't you just forget about grants for a while? It's always the same story. You go, when we get the grant, we'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're stabbing air right now.
Okay. Well, the grant process is
We know we have to.
putting it for them.
We know there's a good chance we'll have to replace them, or if we want to replace them in Mexicans and get their equipment, they'll get it from us.
An idea we might want to visit,
Yeah, sure.
This is,
Maybe they get new equipment, then we can buy their old equipment. How about that?
why don't we look into, fundraising in the community specifically tied to?
I think the community is sick and tired of fundraising.
I can tell you that
I have no come to me for any dime.
I can tell you that we're healthy, and it's a great thing to be healthy, but that health level drops very significantly when you have large purchases and the cost of what a fire service equipment is. People think we can just go out and buy a truck and call it good, or, oh, I got a friend that has SCBAs, you can just buy them off of him. Well, no, they have to be rated, they have to be NFPA, they have to be ANSI, they have to be all these different governmental sites. So everybody, it seems like everybody else has, a better idea. Everybody has a better idea to try to come up to buy these high-ticket items, but I can tell you that we need to stay on course with the health that we have. That's been allowed by the taxpayers that increased the levy back in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. If we didn't have that, we'd really be in a predicament with our radio communications, with our ability to do SCBAs, with our ability to even buy gear for our people. And now we have it, and I don't like the idea of going out to the public and asking for more money. The fundraisers that are done are by the Volunteer Firefighters Association. I think that's the important part of fundraising, to support our volunteer firefighters, allow them to do more and give that back to the community. But I don't believe in asking the community for more money when it comes to these items. I think we have the money, I just need to be able to work it with my commissioners on the budgetary side to make sure the money's going in the right places and we're doing our prudence, our fiscal responsibility.
Cut back on the sushi.
Cut back on sushi. So I should have taken you to lunch.
Okay, are we done with the SCBA's and the?
Okay, so SCBA, so geez Louise. Okay, my report is really long. All right. So I'll get my year-end financial audit and all that done, and I'll be publishing on our website and then having a meeting with the Taxpayers Association. Apparatus, I have nothing to report. Member roster has not changed from last month. It's still 44 members. 31 Canadians, 7 Point Roberts, 3 County, and including in that are 4 paramedics, 15 EMTs, which of 4 are advanced EMTs, 3 ambassadors, and 36 firefighters. Volunteer hours for the month of February were 2,352. Volunteer payroll, if everybody was getting paid out, was 13,353. Combined chief hours, I worked 137.5, Assistant Chief Shields 139. Total hours 276.5. We had 9 calls in the month of February, 6 EMS calls. We transported 2 people to St. Joseph's Hospital. We had 2 transports to North Whatcom Fire Rescue and 2 to Ferndale Fire Department. We had 3 fire classifications, 1 structure, 1 smoke investigation, and 1 false alarm. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. Any business unfinished? No? No business? No?
Okay, we're going to bring up a microphone and a speaker for this room so that it's better video or audio on our video equipment?
I can actually get a microphone for that. That is a projected microphone. I can try that. Or I think they have microphones that I can run a cord and it can set up here in between everybody.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying to spend a whole lot of money here, but there's no use having it recorded if we can't understand each other's, what we're saying, or...
I haven't seen a video yet that I haven't been able to turn up the volume on and hear on my computer.
I see my computer is a piece of crap. But anyhow, that's...
We could fundraise for a new computer.
Your computer, I'll call you.
Is there any other new business? No?
Right.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good, done.
Oh, can I just,
Yeah, sure, sure.
I'm here because we started a new ham radio group in Point Roberts, and it's a division of PrEP. It's an official division of PrEP. And there's 15 members now, and we have a net check-in every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. So we're asking all of our members and PrEP to get the CPR training, and 2 of our members came this Monday.
Monday night, yeah.
So we're on our way to that. And also we're asking everyone to take part in ICS training and to all get our yellow cards, our Washington State worker cards updated. And as well as, we're gonna have a ham radio exam, another one. We had one in Point Roberts. And so I'd like to extend out an idea to the fire department. If some of the members of the fire department would become ham radio operators, it would be a good, an opportune time when we have our exam here this year.
Yeah. What I can do is I can send out an email to my membership and see if I have any interest. And if I do, I can get them in contact with you at that point. I don't know, I don't see myself doing that. My reliability would be on you. If our communications went down, that I would bring, that's why we bring ham in, and we conduct our emergency services from ham's capabilities at that point. So I don't know if John has an interest or if any of my other members. You have to understand, I have 44 members, but roughly 30 of those, plus or minus, are Canadians. Yeah, so they don't live here, they live in Vancouver, North Vancouver, Port Coquitlam, so they're not here. And what I would need as an emergency is my people being here to run the emergency and not being conducting ham radio operations. That would fall on our operators that we currently have. But I'm willing to, if I need an EMT, I need them here, treating a patient, not functioning a radio that somebody else could possibly do. But I'm happy to support that in any way that I can, from my perspective as the fire chief here, and send out an email to my membership and see if anybody would be interested to approach you and talk to you.
Because the ham radio repeater is up on the water tower, and it does work.
Yeah. Yeah, I climbed up there the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, that was high up there. Just to see where it was at, but yeah, I'm happy to do that, Justin.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, one more question. Do you ever have flagging courses here? Some of the ham groups over in Blaine and that, they ask their members to get flagging training. Do you ever hold flagging training here? Or
No, what are you speaking of?
Just for PrEP members and volunteers.
For traffic?
Yeah, to be trained in
For
flagging.
traffic? No, I've never done anything like that. I don't think this organization has offered a class like that in the past. But again, I'm happy to support you in any way that I possibly can and to offer stuff that you guys need. And to try to set it up or utilize this facility. Because you are what I consider to be a part of our emergency services, especially if my radio system goes down. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you all for being here. So, Commissioners, thank you.